Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Podcast. This is a place where driven, determined coaches learn how to get off the business growth struggle bus and learn how to build a wildly profitable online coaching business. I'm your host, Allison Henderson, corporate dropout to six-figure social media business coach. I'm going to show you how I've been able to create the business of my dreams organically, all through utilizing my social media platforms. So pull up a seat, take some notes, and get ready to see your life and bank account transform. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. In this week's episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing the famous Doula Darcy, also known as Darcy Sowers. If you aren't familiar with her, she is a doula business coach and marketing strategist. She combines her unique background with 10 years in advertising and 14 years as a postpartum doula to help other doulas and sleep consultants build thriving businesses. She is the founder of My Doula Village, a community for doulas, and is the host of the Doula Darcy podcast. I am a huge fan of her. That's why I wanted her on this show. And you're going to love this interview so much. So welcome, Doula Darcy. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special guest, the world famous, the Doula Darcy. This is Darcy Sowers. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to dive in today.
Yes, me too. I always like to start my podcast with just tell me a bit more about who you are. How did you get started? I know you've been in this world for, I think you said like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to share your story. How did you get started?
Well, I started out of college working at advertising agencies. That's what I majored in mass communication and worked for a decade in various ad agencies all over New England and New York and New Jersey. And I loved it. And it was it was a super fun job. And actually, we talked about it before, I got free concert tickets and free ski passes. It was fun.
Yeah. On the outside, it looked like, oh, this was like the best job.
Yes. And I did enjoy it. And then I had a baby and that's a whole story of I had a C-section and then an infection. I was back in the hospital and just sick and didn't feel well. Which led into my postpartum experience being just kind of crappy overall, even though my mom came to help, my husband was supportive, my mother-in-law came to help, I had friends, I wasn't alone by any means, but it was rough. And I couldn't imagine. And now looking back, I know that I had postpartum anxiety. And I was having a lot of intrusive thoughts about dropping my baby daughter off at daycare. And I just couldn't do it. And I also was kind of like, what is the point of schlepping my daughter to daycare so I can go run these spreadsheets about, Fortune 500 companies PR? That's what I was doing at the time. I was like, this, not helping the world be a better place for my little baby. Anyway, but it was more the intrusive thoughts about putting her into daycare. So I quit my advertising job and then had two more babies. So I had 3 kids in 4 years. So I was a little overwhelmed. And
that's actually pretty brave of you.
It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
I wanted a lot of kids, and I was like, well, we might as well just do the baby thing all at once. And that anyway, it was a lot. I was just tired. I was so tired and so depleted. And then ended up getting through one of my other employers, got a job at this company called Zanga, which is a really hot blogging company. This had to have been 2008, maybe. At the time, Zanga was very hot. So one day I was obsessed with telling my friends, hunting down like high school acquaintances that were having babies and just telling them listen, postpartum's harder. It's harder than anyone tells you that it's going to be. And you've got to be ready. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I was basically like being a postpartum doula without knowing what that was. But one day I was reading a blog through Zanga about a postpartum doula. And I was like, wait a minute, this is my dream job. This is a job. I couldn't even believe it was a job. So everything just fell into place really quickly. I found a training. I took that. I did I got certified and started working and really relied on my background in advertising and marketing to get myself up and running as a doula pretty quicker than most. And so worked as a postpartum doula, that was in 2010. So worked as a postpartum doula for many years, eventually started an agency, and then started to just see in the Facebook groups for doulas that most doulas were struggling with getting clients. And I realized it's because doulas are these heart-centered, compassionate, doulas, they don't have a marketing background like I do. So I thought, wouldn't that be fun to help doulas? I was also struggling with, as a postpartum doula, I was helping one mom at a time. And I was like, there's got to be a way to increase my impact. There's got to be a way to make postpartum better for moms, for families, at a rate of more than just one a day. And so at first I started to think about what kind of group programs could I do? But then I finally realized, if I'm helping doulas everywhere get more clients, I'm helping more families get doulas. And so that's how I got here. And I love it so much because now it's even morphing into helping doulas continue to be doulas without burning out. Helping doulas start to create passive income streams and digital products and digital courses. And just there's a bazillion ways doulas can make money that doesn't require them to be on call 24/7, that they don't have to go to 6 births a month. They don't have to do 7 overnights a week. So that's my new help thing that I'm doing, is helping doulas scale their businesses in a variety of different ways. And I just love that because it's helping doulas be doulas for longer. So many doulas are facing burnout, or they're just getting older and tired, and they can't, I hear all the time, I just can't do these overnights anymore. I can't go to 5 births a month. But I want to go to 2 births a month. And so it's so fun and rewarding to help an experienced doula stay in the game and continue to earn the income that she needs to earn and continue to impact families and birth and postpartum in a meaningful way. So I'm loving it.
Because I think a lot of, even if you're listening to this and you're not a doula, there's probably something that you can relate to with that, being I know I need passive income. I know right. Even if you're just doing one-on-one, you might be booked out with one-on-one clients, but you might not want to do that forever. You might want to only have 1 or 2 clients a month, but still be making the money you want to make, right? So I would love for you to give me an example of this. So a doula comes to you and they're like, I kind of need a break. I'm really burnt out. I might want to take 1 or 2 births, a month or maybe even a year. But how do I create a digital product? What does that even look like?
Yeah. So, and this absolutely applies to sleep consultants, parent coaches. I work with a lot of them too. And because they have the same struggles. You could be the world's best sleep consultant, but if people don't, I always say, if no one knows you exist, no one can hire you, no matter how good of a doula, sleep consultant, parent coach that you are. So, in terms of starting to add some, a digital product or a digital course, I love to say, you're only limited by your imagination, but I love doing some one-on-one strategy sessions and just listening to a doula or sleep consultant's passion, because that's where they'll have the most success in creating a passive income stream. But for a doula, I think the most obvious is, I always say, what is the question that people are asking you the most? What are you hearing over and over again? And what is a solution that you can create that solves that problem? So for a doula, a pretty easy one. A lot of doulas teach childbirth education, and they're teaching it live and in person in the living rooms of their clients, which is awesome. But it's also awesome if you could record that childbirth ed or even parts of it. I was just talking to a doula, like, she's like, I could record parts of it, have them watch that. Then I only have to go to their house for an hour to do the hands-on stuff versus 2 to 3 hours. So even something like that, if you're creating a digital course for something you're teaching to every client anyway, that saves you time. But the clients are still getting the knowledge, and you can sell that to anyone, anywhere, a parent anywhere. So, oh my God, and sleep consultants, like there's so many digital products, ebooks, downloads, courses about sleep that parents need. So, and it is like my superpower to just sit and come up with an online business plan for doulas. And, maybe it's that, if you're a postpartum doula, this is something I love to think about. Like, what if you had like a Friday online support group for parents, for new parents, and you can invite your clients, like it's a part of your package of anyone who's working with you. And then you can also sell it, invite people from anywhere to attend. So it doesn't have to be something that's recorded. It could be one-on-one, virtual. And oh my God, for sleep consulting, like there's so many ways to bring that online and scale it.
I would love to ask you, because you said this earlier, like a lot of doulas and people, like pretty much, I feel like it's like people that are trying to help moms. Like there's just something in our heart because we all get it, right? Like it's like I feel seen, heard, and understood when I talk to a mom who's just been there and is in the thick of it. And I'd love for you to share, like, do you feel that these heart-centered women have a hard time showing up, like showing their face, really being visible?
I think part of it's, yes, they have a hard time showing their face and being visible. And then they have a hard time asking to be paid for their service. And it's
I've been to that, Doula Darcy. I want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, oh man, this is the other thing I love to talk about. Like the mindset of it feels wrong to be paid to help someone. Like, and doulas say all the time, like doulas have been a profession for thousands of years. Like the women of the village always came to help the other women of the village having a baby. But so why do we pay for it? I have to charge for it now. And it's like, well, because we live in houses and drive cars and have to buy our food at a store, and we don't, live on farms anymore. So it's I don't want to say universal, but it's a common struggle in the doula world. But I'm sure sleep consulting, like these heart-led, professions where people were so worried about what other people are going to think. Like, what is my neighbor going to think if I start making TikToks about my sleep consulting services? Like, what are they going to think? And what are my parents going to think? What's my partner going to think? And so that we get that voice in our head and we're like, well, I don't want to go on TikTok. I don't want to go on Instagram. I don't want to make a website for my doula services. And I always coach and counsel that you can't help anyone if you don't put yourself out there. Back to like, if they don't know you exist, if they don't know your services exist, you can't help them, and they can't. And you're actually denying a parent the support and love and compassion and service that they need and deserve if you're not putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I always tell my clients, like, you're doing a disservice to them, even though
Yeah.
you're making it about you, and it should be about you.
Right. And I said, the other thing is like, it comes down to worth. Like a lot of people struggle with women, especially, I think like, oh, I, I feel bad charging this much money. Like I'm not worthy of charging a full rate. And, um, I'm not, so the other thing that I love to kind of shine a light on is it feels weird to charge for being a doula because being a doula is fun and you're good at it and it comes naturally. And I mean, I remember my first several clients, I mean, for years, even still to this day, when I get paid at the end of the week for for a week of postpartum doula shifts, I'm like, I can't believe like this is a job. I love it so much. And when I was first starting out, I would have paid for the chance to get into somebody's home to just make them a sandwich and, tell
Let them
them,
have a nap.
yeah, let them have a nap and tell them that they're doing a great job. And we're so raised that earning money is hard, working sucks, it's a drain. So it feels weird to switch into this career that you love so much that aligns with your like sole purpose. And then that you have to ask for money, or that you get to ask for money on top of it at the end of the day. So I think that's been a real like light bulb moment for a lot of my clients is that, oh, just because I love it doesn't mean I don't deserve to get paid.
There's a whole thing too where I see with in any, I guess, coaching industry, or any sort of field is like now these people that I've coached or helped are my friends. And I didn't feel weird now charging now to continue with the coaching, continue with the postpartum doula. Like,
Yes,
I love this child or I love this family.
right.
How can I keep asking them for more money?
Yes. Right. That definitely happens as a doula. But if you turn around and ask the family, they're psyched to pay you.
Yeah.
And, your clients that love, whether you're a coach, a doula, sleep consultant, your clients that understand the value you provide are happy to pay for those services. So, we can get in our head so much about the money side of this. And it's that, like you said, like it's just, we're in our own heads. So yeah.
Love that. So for somebody right now who did not come from a marketing background like we did, and they're like, okay, I'm at that point where maybe they've had a few clients and it is a little draining and they want to maybe do something with the digital courses, but they're not techie. You probably hear that a lot. I'm just not techie. Oh, yeah. Like, I don't want to have a website. I don't even know how to create a checkout page with someone to pay me. Like, invoicing even is hard. Like, how do you coach somebody through that?
I say that just actually was listening to a podcast today about it's not that it's hard, it's that you don't know how to do it. Like,
yeah,
having a job where you're out digging ditches, that's hard. That's hard work. Creating a website, that's not hard. You just don't know how to do it. And you just have to either put in some time or some money to get it done. So you can put in time and Google it and watch YouTube videos and figure it out yourself, or you can pay someone to do it for you. And then either way, it's done. And then you get to go be a doula. And for me, I remember, the first year of my business, knowing, I had a marketing background. I knew I had to put myself in rooms with people and network my little buns off. And you're probably shocked to hear such an introvert. I didn't really want to do it. I knew I had to start putting myself out there on social media. I didn't really want to do that. I was so worried. I remember even all my friends were like, what are you doing? A postpartum what now? And I remember people flat out being like, you think people are going to pay you for that? Like, is that a real thing? And I was just like, yes, I need it. I need to do this. So for me, and what I tell my clients now, your passion has to override your fear. And that's what got me through. Like my passion for being a postpartum doula, for helping another mom was more intense and stronger than my fear of going to the Chamber of Commerce networking night. It was that passion ended up being stronger than my fear of starting to post on Facebook about my new doula business. And so, yes, figuring out there's a lot of tech, especially with an online business. There's a lot of tech, but on the other side of that is that you get to be a sleep consultant. You get to be a parent coach. You get to be a doula. You get to help people. You get to have that be your job. And, for me, I always had this threat of like, I might have to go back to that ad agency world. And now I have 3 kids, like, God, 3 kids in daycare. Like that would have been insane. But, that's the other piece. I'm assuming a lot of your listeners are moms. Like that was
like 99% of them probably. Yeah.
That was another big driver for me. Like, I didn't want to have my days be, okay, every morning I pack 3 kids up and schlep them off to daycare or school, go work, come home. Like, I want to be with my kids. I want to have the freedom to spend more time with them. I wanted to go volunteer in their little classrooms. I wanted to go to their elementary school Halloween parties. Like I wanted to not be around them all the time, but I wanted to work part-time. I wanted to have that freedom. And so, especially with an online business, you have so much freedom. I mean, and now with the passive income that I've worked to set up, like I only work a few hours a day. So the time freedom, the location freedom, like I can work from anywhere now, and the financial freedom are so worth the effort I had to put in to learn the tech. And it's just like, to me, that's what it comes down to.
Look at the big picture here, even though right now, like learning how to build your website or even just learning the simple act of creating a reel or something like,
yes,
like, I know it seems tough, but like put it in your calendar, like 15, 20 minutes a day to be like, okay, what are these buttons do? Like, if I click this, what happens? Like, or if you want to watch the YouTube video of like how to do something, like put it in your schedule, learn how to do it, because the big picture is so much more important than the day-to-day stuff. And even though I want you to learn, like I always tell my clients, like learn to love the businessy tasks, because if you don't end up learning to love it, it is going to be hard.
Yes.
In the long run to really want to keep going with all of this stuff, because you're going to get a lot of ideas. I want to launch this, or I want to talk about that. I want to start a podcast. It's like, you have all these things, and if you keep letting the tech ruin it and like really, just get in your head and you start overthinking everything. Yeah, it is going to be hard for you to make the passive income or the, double your income, even if you really want to get in front of more people.
Right.
Look at the big picture. Like, you want to be home with your kids, you want to make more money, whatever that is for yourself. You gotta learn the businessy tasks that I know they aren't fun, but they're essential.
Yeah. And I love what you said about like, you have to learn to fall in love with them, like, which I totally have. I love the business side of things, and maybe I always have, but I like learning a new tech thing because it's like a door to more freedom. If I know how to Well, and it's funny. When I first started my doula business, I needed a website. And there's this woman called the website doula. And I was talking to her and I was like, well, can't I just pay you to make one? And at the time, and now she does offer that. At the time, she didn't. She was like, no, listen, trust me, you have a lot to gain from knowing how to make a website. And I was like, but I don't want to. I just want it to exist so I can just get out there and be a doula. But I learned how to make a website. And don't you know, I mean, I've made like 15 websites since for, the various iterations of my doula business, now Doula Darcy. In between, my husband and I ran a bunch of mom and baby expos in different cities. I had to make a different website for that, each one of those. And the more I did it, the better I got at it. And now I'm not afraid. Like just this morning, I had an idea for a new program I want to launch to help doulas. And I was like, I can make a page on my website, the sales page for that in 10 minutes now. And that's going to open up more income for me, more impact for the doulas who sign up for it. And so I think every tech thing that you learn or every business thing that you learn for your business opens doors for you. And versus a corporate job, you have to do stuff at a corporate job. Any job you have to do tasks that you don't enjoy and you have to learn new things. So you might as well do that for yourself instead of having a job where you're working hard and learning and doing menial tasks for a boss that you most likely could care less about. If, there's a meme floating around on the internet right now that it's like you can either work on building passive income for yourself or work on someone else's passive income stream. And that like hit me like when you're working for someone else, you're funding their dreams, you're funding their life. And I mean, they're paying you, they're compensating you, but when you're doing it for yourself, it's limitless. It's truly limitless. And that's just the best.
You mentioned earlier that you're an introvert. So I'd love for you, because I know a lot of these women who are listening do claim that to be a part of their identity of like, oh, I'm an introvert. So it's like hard for me to like want to talk on camera or even just put my phone up to record a reel. And I know obviously we know, but with building any sort of online business, your face and like as a personal brand, it's really important to show up and talk on camera. Yeah. So I'd love for you to like maybe explain a little bit like how you coach your clients or how you just kind of got over that.
Yeah. So for me, as an introvert, I mean, it would be a fate worse than death to like have to go to a cocktail party and chit chat about the weather and, local politics. Like I hate that. It's so draining. But put me in a room with a bunch of moms that, want to talk about breastfeeding and birth or a bunch of doulas. Like I love that. And I can do that all day. So, I think, there's a great quote that I think it's from Tom Hyatt. I know it's from Tom Hyatt. And he says, marketing is really just about sharing your passion. And I know I come in talking about marketing and sales and business, and doulas and sleep consultants like cringe. They're like, no, I like to help people. But when you think about marketing as sharing your passion, it gets easier to do. And it gets easier to do, especially if you're an introvert. You're not just having to make conversation for the sake of conversation. You're sharing your passion for sleep, birth, postpartum, babies, whatever. So when you go to make that reel, think about your passion. And I always say your passion has to override your fear. Your passion for your work, your passion for helping people has to override your fear of what your neighbor's going to say about the reel or what you're going to tell yourself about putting your face up on Instagram. And again, it comes down to if you want to do this, I always say being a doula is the best job in the world. If you want the best job in the world, you have to make Instagram reels. You have to put your headshot up on a website. You have to go network with the other doulas in your town. It's just, again, you could be the best doula in the world. You could be the best sleep consultant in the world. If no one knows you exist, you're not going to get to do this dream job. You're not going to get to help people. So it's like, if you want to lose weight, you have to go exercise. It's just like,
They go hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that you talk a lot about like expanding your audience or like getting in front of more people. Like that's a lot of like what we do as sales and marketing experts here is like get in front of more people, talk to more people, network, blah, blah, blah. But like so many people have like this, I guess, misconception of what that is. So I'd love for you to maybe just explain a bit about, what does growing your network mean? Or like, even just talking to strangers, how does that show up in your world?
Yeah. Well, I mean, networking is a huge part of marketing. When the people in the community are talking about you and your services, I always say you don't have to post on social media as much. And then in the doula world, and I thought this too, like, oh, okay, all I need to do is just go talk to all the OBs and the pediatricians, and then that's how I'll get my clients. But OBs and pediatricians are too busy, and they don't have time to talk to their patients about the things they need to talk to their patients about, never mind introducing the idea of hiring a doula. So you have to think about your network. And in advertising, we used to do this thing called the day in the life, and like thinking about our target audience, our ideal clients, what they do in a day. What TV shows do they watch? What magazines do they read? What blogs do they read? Where do they go online? Where do they go in town? So I would say to doulas, like, you need to be networking with the chiropractors, the acupuncturists, the prenatal yoga teachers, the photographers, like all the other professions, not just the OBs. Who are the other small businesses that are talking to pregnant people and new parents? And that's what I mean by expanding your network. And, maybe it's the health food store in town that sells, organic papaya and ginger that moms want to eat when they are nauseous. Or maybe there's a certain cafe in town where all the new moms go. Like, what are the places and spaces and people that your potential clients are, where they're hanging out, who they're talking to, and it's always expanding. So thinking about what your dream clients do in a day or a week and getting in front of all those people.
Like the barista. You probably talk to your barista more than your OB.
Yes. Right. Well, in all seriousness, I say, like, a maternity photographer, if you're going to get maternity photos, you're there for an hour and a half. Like, you're chatting with that photographer. When you go see your OB, it's like, how's your blood pressure? Did you pee in the cup? Yeah. What do you weigh? Okay, bye. So, the baristas, all that.
But I love the newborn photographer. That one's genius, especially for a doula. But even, anybody who's listening to this, like those are things that moms are doing.
Yes.
And even afterwards, are having newborn photos. Like, obviously that just makes sense, right? Whoever's serving your audience on the day-to-day or regularly, like those are the people you need to be talking to.
And then in the online world, if you have an online business, what are they Googling? What are they, so write some blogs about that. What are they watching? What are they scouring the internet for? And how can you and your business show up there?
Do you do anything with ChatGPT, or like, what do you recommend with that?
Oh, I am just starting to play around with it. I I think ChatGPT is great for ideas. Like, give me, 5 social media posts about the role of a doula, or, and then I like to say, though, especially parent coaches, sleep consultants, doulas, it's so personal what we do with our clients. You really need to make sure whatever you use Chat GPT for, that you put a human element into it, that you rewrite it to make it sound like you, that you put your own spin on it, because that's at the end of the day what makes a connection with another human. And in our world, like, that's what's going to make someone hit buy. They want their, how many sleep consultants are there in the world? But you're going to hire the one that feels like they're talking to you, that feels like they understand your problems. I always say to doulas, someone who's hiring a doula is thinking like, this person's going to see me naked. Like, I need to know, and trust this person. So I'm a little nervous about ChatGPT, like, taking that away, that human factor. Like, you can see the posts that are written by, ChatGPT, but
yeah, they're very general.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like you said, that human element to them. And I feel like it lacks just some relevancy, like really touching on like their soul. Like, I always love getting those DMs that are like, oh my God, did you write this for me? Like, honest, like, this literally was exactly what I needed to hear today. And I just feel like I don't get that sort of stuff.
Right.
When I look at it's like a generalized.
And that feeling that you just described, like, oh my God, you're in my head. Yeah. That's when you're like, yes, here, take all my money. Like, it's like a no brainer. Like, yes, I want to hire you, versus, I don't know. So.
Hey, you sound like everybody else. It's like, well,
right. Yeah. That's what you don't.
Oh, well, I'd love for you. I mean, is there anything else with the audience that you'd love to just share today? Anything on your heart? So I turned 50 this year. Woo-hoo. Yeah. And so I feel like this kind of happened when I turned 40 too. It's just this like, oh my gosh, we only get to do this once. And our kids are only that's the other thing. My kids are teenagers. Like, our kids are only little once. So don't just go for it. Just go all in on yourself and your business and your dreams and your family. And I say a lot that I wish, I only built this online portion of my business 4 years ago, starting 5 years ago. I wish I had done it sooner, because when my kids were smaller, like, yes, it was crazy when my kids were smaller, but to have the freedom, time freedom I have now, the financial freedom I have now, the location freedom I have now, like, if I had had more of that when they were little, it would have been amazing. But that being said, if your kids are older, like, it's never too late to start going for it. It's never too late to, I don't know. The other thing is, the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't care what my neighbor thinks about the real, I don't care that. And what's really interesting that I've noticed happening lately? So yes, when I first started my business in 2010, I was terrified to make Facebook posts and, like, claim that I was starting this postpartum doula business, and, well, what's everybody going to think? And oh my God, raise your hand. I know I can't see you, but raise your hand if you getting those like questions of like, oh, are you still doing that little sleep consulting? You doing that cute little doula business still? And now what I get is, hey, Darcy, you go skiing a lot midweek. You go on a lot of vacations. They don't say that, but they're thinking that. And I get a lot of like, I'd love to pick your brain about an online business. I'd love to pick your brain about, how I could do this too. And I'm like, well, where were you 15 years ago? So don't worry about what other people think. Worry about what you and your family need. And you're never going to regret betting on yourself.
I think a lot too, we don't see this because we do think everyone's talking negatively about us, But I think there's a lot of people that think very highly of you. And they're, I don't want to say jealous, but envious of this decision you decided to make for yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's been times, especially this past summer, I don't know why this happened to me a few times. I was at a party. I don't really talk much in my neighborhood about like what I do. I mean, if you like end up following me on Instagram, oh, wow, Allison has a following and she does this for a living. Oh, crazy. Like I had a few people that came up to me and they were like, I actually was thinking about starting a business. And a few of my friends were like, hold on, she's going to get her stick out and draw some business plans in the sand. Hold up. I'm like, I will, let's do it. Like I get so excited. That's not what I love talking about that. But I think a lot of people are afraid to make that jump but they see you and they're like, oh, wow. I love it. And so it's either they can make that excuse to why they aren't going to do it. Right. And like, oh, I'm afraid to put my face on social media or whatever. Or it's like, okay, I'm gonna at least see if this is a possibility. Like, I would love to learn more about that. So, like I said, either way, people are gonna be judging you whether or not you want that or not. But I think more people are thinking highly of you than they are thinking negatively of you, even though that's where our brain decides to go.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, that idea of like, oh, we always think about like what the worst case scenario, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, why don't we have to train our brains to be like, what's the best thing that could happen? And so, yes, you're putting yourself out on social media. Like, yes, somebody might judge you, but you also might inspire somebody. And you also definitely will change people's lives, like your clients that you help. You make an impact, and that is not something to hide from. So, yeah.
So much good in the world.
I know.
You guys are all listening. You're a part of it.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Well, I'd love for you to tell everyone more about your membership or how they can get in contact with you. And what about?
Oh my God, definitely find me. Yeah. Find me on Instagram at the Doula Darcy. And shoot me a DM. Tell me that you heard this. If you're a doula, I have a free Facebook group called the Doula Marketing Group. And then my paid membership is called My Doula Village, $67 a month. And it's awesome. It's a great community with all the marketing videos that you need. And then the mentoring from me. I also have an online class called Marketing 101 for sleep consultants. If any sleep consultants and parent coaches need that marketing piece, and this is all about building an online business. There's the module on blogging, Pinterest, all the Instagram, all the different areas of the online space that you need to know about and harness to have an online virtual sleep consulting business. And I will let's make a coupon code. I should have thought of this before.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Promise everyone. I'll put the coupon code in the show notes.
Yes. So we'll do $100 off that class for anyone who heard the podcast today. So it's a great class. It's all self-paced and completely online. And it'll take you through all the steps to marketing your sleep consulting business. And I say all the time, I don't know why all sleep consultants aren't millionaires, because you should be and could be. There are people in the world, there's so many tired parents and they need your help and they're willing to pay for it. So I love
all on social media. Let's be real.
Oh my God. They're scrolling all night long looking for how do I get my baby to sleep? So sleep is a side passion of mine. After having 3 kids in 4 years, it's a big part of my postpartum doula work. And I now is helping families learn about sleep. And I'm just obsessed with, I think we can achieve world peace if everybody's just getting some more sleep. So I love helping.
Yeah. I forget the lady who, she has obviously an Instagram account or whatever, but she's always like, take a nap, have a snack. Like, and I was like, that's all we need sometimes. Like, just get a snack, take a nap, relax.
Yes. That was my post the other day for doulas. It was like, have a snack, take a nap, and raise your rates. And
I like that. Okay, we're going to add that one. Raise your rates.
Everything will get better if you just follow that protocol. So it goes to sleep consultants and parent coaches too.
Oh, thank you. All right. Any last words of wisdom before we head out?
No, but thank you so much for having me. I hope anyone listening reaches out. I love connecting with other parent coaches, doulas, anyone who's helping the families. I mean, it's such important work. So reach out.
Thank you so much, Doula Darcy. You are the best.
Thank you for having me. This was super fun.
Thank you for listening to the Ambitious Coach podcast today. A couple favors before you go. If you found this episode helpful, please take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. Most importantly, don't forget to tag me at Allison Henderson _coach. That's ALLISON Henderson_coach. And lastly, please take a minute to rate this episode and leave a raving review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Okay, ambition is great, but it's time to get to work. Take action and commit to being 1% better every day. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again next week.